With another anime season in the books, I'm back to discuss the shows that I completed to help you, the viewer, determine for yourself if they are something that you want to watch. Or at least add to your plan to watch list. Summer 2022 was understandably the season of sequels, as evident by the shows that got my attention. Of the 8 anime I finished this season, only 3 were not sequels, and I have to say that those 3 were some of my favorites of the season. I'll be saving the best for last, so I will just go ahead and kick it off with the best sequel of the season, Made in Abyss. The second season, The Golden City of the Scorching Sun, brought a slightly different change of narrative tone to our adventure anime, and there wasn't as much focus on adventure as there was on survival and on learning. Expanding on the lore of the Abyss, we add a ton of new characters that are mainstays throughout the 12-episode run. I hated most of them, but I hated none more than this thing. I despise its existence. For real though, even if this was the best made sequel this season, it seemed to lose a bit of the charm that the show had through the first season and the movie. However, that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the journey it took me on, and true Made in Abyss style that made me thoroughly uncomfortable at times, and while watching it in its true dark storytelling way. This season was all about managing relationships and learning how you know you can trust someone to be on your side. Overall, I'm looking forward to seeing what else is in store for this franchise. And moving on from the best made, we'll go to my favorite sequel of the season, and that would be Overlord Season 4. This season brought the main course of what has been teased for the last couple of years. This season was more action on an episodic basis than a single, complete, cohesive narrative, which was a little sad, but still enjoyable nonetheless. To actually see the villain do villain things on a large scale basis brings the story to the end game, even if the end game isn't close to the end of this saga. And at the end, it even kind of teased that this could potentially be an idol anime, but that's probably not for my demographic, anyways. Another show that isn't necessarily for my demographic would be Rent a Girlfriend Season 2. And that's definitely not coping. I'm not coping, guys. We all know that this show's not supposed to be good, but why do we watch it? Why do we watch a dumpster fire? Why do we watch a 90 car pileup on the interstate? It's just one of those things that you know isn't good and shouldn't happen, but it just captures your attention and you can't look away. Honestly, a better name for this show would be Secondhand Cringe, the anime, because my lord, the amount of social ineptitude that's experienced between these characters just hurts to watch. And honestly, it's painful. But I'll definitely watch next season, so there's that. Okay, but for real now, speaking of bad, we can move on to Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2. The once beloved show that was very popular how many years ago? 9? Is that right? 9 years. Surely it'll still be popular, right, guys? Right? Honestly, if the show came out like 8 years ago, I think it would have been an acceptable sequel, but the time between season 1 and the quality of production, it aged like fine milk. And I don't really want to elaborate. If you're a fan of the franchise, you already watched it, and if you're watching this video, I'll just leave it simply as don't watch it. What I can suggest watching, though, is Classroom of the Elite Season 2. And that is, if you're really into reading, you'll like it. And I mean, a lot of reading. Actually, now that I think about it, just go read the light novel if you're into that sort of thing, I guess. I think my hype for the show carried over from season 1, which aired 5 years ago, and the same thing I said about the part-timer applies here. However, I think it is worth going out there to watch at least season 1 if you haven't, so I do still recommend that. Season 2 is good, but not great, and I don't know if it's really worth exploring as an option if you haven't watched season 1 already. Now, with all those sequels out of the way, let me tell you about the true kings and queens of the season. Obviously, Cyberpunk Edgerunners is best of season and contender for anime of the year, even though we all know Chainsaw Man's just gonna sweep the anime awards anyways, guys, am I right? However, I already made a video about Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and you can watch that here. The other anime originals that we have, though, are some real good ones, and we can go ahead and start by discussing Lycoris Recoil, which is an anime original and one that flew under my radar when the season started. It caught my attention from other anime YouTubers talking about it, and I decided to give it a watch, and boy, am I glad I did. The show is a hybrid between an action and the cute girls doing cute things genre, and Lycoris Recoil really packs a punch, and the gunshot wounds. The action scenes are great, and it has a gripping story that develops a bit later on in its runtime, and it's still able to pivot at the ends to bring it all home. I would say it's a good leisure show to pick up on some downtime, and I also can't forget to mention that the artist went hard on the fashion choices for our main cute girl protagonists. This show does really well in the cute girls section when it's portraying the slice of life, and just as well in the action scenes. Lycoris Recoil has been one of those shows from this season that just sticks with me for some reason, even after finishing it all that time ago. And now let's take a break from this action and slow things down. Picture, if you will, a quiet, dimly lit street at 1 in the morning. Nobody is around to bother you, you have no responsibilities. And these vibes are prevalent in Call of the Night, and I could not be more of a fan of it. Everyone's calling this a lo-fi anime, and that's a descriptor I can get behind. Our protagonist has a lot on his mind, and getting out at night is his form of release from all of the expectations the world has on him. Since this is an anime, our protagonist is a high school boy, and he does have some sort of pressures on him, right? He's got to maintain good grades and be social and be a responsible friend, but he just shrinks back into his shell and wants to just get his release alone in the streets at night with nobody around. And while he's doing this, there actually is someone around, and it's a vampire who turns out to be pretty cool. And now, because he met her, he wants to feel emotions like love by learning from her or something, I guess. It's kind of gray. Since he is dead inside, he is unable to form these emotions for anyone around him. He already feels a little separated from society, hence the walking around at night alone. The anime follows how his decision impacts his day-to-day life, and if he really can go through with the decision he made. If that narrative doesn't grab you, then I would like to raise to you this gorgeous setting that the story takes place in. And I know I'm the target for this type of show, this genre, but honestly, you could take any frame from this anime and throw it on a video of lo-fi beats to relax / drink blood to, and you'd be able to have a really good time looking at it. And if you're gonna enjoy just one single still frame on a video, then I'm gonna bet that you'd really enjoy watching the show as a whole as well. Anyways, I highly recommend at least giving this one a shot if this is your type of vibe. And now finally, we get to the cream of the crop for shows that ended this season. And while it isn't super fair to include it as one that started airing this season because it started in the spring, but it's also not fair for Disney Plus to not simulcast this in North America. That's right, I'm talking about Summertime Render. Now, you can watch this magnificent show on Disney Plus because they actually released it now, and I'm putting my seal of approval on this one, and I'll be making a video on it at a later date. That video will go into spoilers, so now I can only implore you to just go ahead and check it out for the time whenever that video releases. Summertime Render, Summertime Rendering, however you want to say it, is just a really well done time travel mystery that's better than 99% of the time travel shows out there. The protagonist kind of sucks as a protagonist, but I can't help but think that I could have done better in the given circumstances of being involuntarily thrown into a mystery that will determine the fate of your friends and family, and as well as yourself, really. With 25 episodes, it will keep you busy for a while, but I had to restrain myself for watching this show every week. It was one of the hardest things that I've had to do. And once it was out, I was finally able to binge the remaining 20 episodes after I watched the first 5 because it was that good. But like I said earlier, I'll have a video out soon, TM, and hopefully you'll be able to join me in sharing that experience as a whole. But right now, this show, 10 out of 10, best show that ended this season. And now that wraps up all the shows that ended here in summer 2022 that I finished myself. What did you watch? I know this video is a bit late and everyone's already moved on to Chainsaw Man, but I've been enjoying the fall weather and I'm going to be locked inside soon for the winter, so it's better late than never, right? And while I'm locked inside, I'll still be able to churn out some content, so you can expect more of that going soon. Like I said, I'll have a video on Summertime Render and another anime paired with that coming up next, but until then, while you wait, I can suggest the review of the spring 2022 season that I made a while back.